Welcome to Paul's Place. This segment's going to be a little bit different than other things. Besides racing, I've been involved in other avenues of life, and one of them is collecting old wind-up Victrolas. I think a couple shows I've had some of my stuff on TV. This weekend we've had a convention at the World War II Victory Center, now known as National Military History Center, and we had a two-day show there, which turned out to be pretty successful. So the program you're going to see this evening is another side of my life, part that when I have other things going on, I go down in the basement and play with these items. So sit back and relax, kick up your feet, and it's not as wild as racing is, but it will be a little bit entertaining. First segment of the tape will be a show of what's at the Phonovention, and then on the second segment I've stopped and interviewed different people from different avenues of life that's involved in our collection, I guess. So like I said earlier, sit back and relax and enjoy yourself, and this will be 60 minutes of fun. Thank you. Setting up here in the World War II Museum with a phonograph show. This booth here is one that's displayed by Don Gaffel out of Milan, Ohio. Don builds these horns. He's an expert craftsman. He's retired. He was a superintendent of schools over there. Milan being the hometown of Thomas Edison, where Thomas was born before he moved to Port Huron. He lived in Milan until he was, 6, 7 years old, somewhere in there, and then moved up to Port Huron. Well, Don here has got quite a knack for woodwork, and these are very ornate wooden horns. You just got to really see them up close to believe what they are. It's really a nice collection and of a selection. Here's a spear tip, as they call it. No, this is spear tip. Yeah. Very, very nice horn. Another spear tip. That's a metal horn there. That's a spear tip. That's a smooth one. Quite a display of machines and horns. This display here is up front here. This belongs to Tim Fieser from LaPorte, Indiana. Tim is a retired iron worker. He worked the same type of job as I did, and then in the background is a display of some of his nicer machines that he has in his house that he's brought down to the Phonovention strictly for display. And very ornate, very nice machines. He's rebuilt just about every one of them, and really a nice collection. Of course, the collection is all of what we got. So this collection here belongs to Brian Gorell. Brian's out of Lexington, Kentucky, and he's also got a nice couple tables of very well preserved phonographs. One thing about being in a Phonovention, you get to talk and bend to your ear and tell other people what you got and how you fix that and how can you fix that, and if you got one of these, and how many of these have you ever seen, and so on. It's quite a talkathon. I know last night at the motel, they were having a round table discussion over 3 tables, and it was quite interesting. This display is my very own. This is a display cabinet I made out of, was a shoe display in a rental place where they rented out tuxedos and so on, and I don't know, I bought it a year or so back and took it home and put it together, and I put my cylinders in by section of what you want. This is a box of cylinders, and then of course there's some vacant spots. We sold some things. There's a Victor 9 mahogany, and then there's a Victor 6 oak, and then there's a Edison Ambrola 50, and then a neon sign and a bunch of books. And then for display, I've got a table over here. This machine here was made by the Symposium people. For a long time, I always thought this was a polyphone made in Germany, but there was a book released here about, a year ago, and I found a picture of this very machine in the book, and it was made in Switzerland by the Symposium Musiksbach people. And then this is a tinfoil machine, that early machine that Edison first made his tinfoil recording on in 1877. And this is a Columbia with a nickel-plated horn here. And it's just got a nickel-plated ring around the turntable, and it's like got aluminum tone arm and so on. It's a nice machine. And then this display we had last night when Al Gentry did the Jeanette record talk from Richmond, Indiana, the Star Piano Company. And these are records that Jeanette and Champion and Star all made down in Richmond, Indiana. This record here that I'll zoom in here on, that's an original Jeanette Jelly Roll Morton record right there. And then this one down here is a Canadian. It's got little rim chips on it, but it's one of the rare ones that I have in my collection. And there's some other what they got. That's all with the Star label that goes back to the Star Piano Company in Richmond, Indiana. The Jeanette brothers was, when they finally got a hold of the Star Piano Company, they changed the records to Jeanette, and then they also had Champion records. Let's see, that's a Champion there. But that's a real nice display, and Al did a real good job on his talk. So we're a lot more knowledgeable on Star and Jeanette than we were. This gentleman is out of the Ohio area in New London, Ohio. He just set up with records, 78 records. There's probably, I would say, on these 5 tables, they're probably close to 2,000 pounds of records. That he's got them all sorted out from jazz, early jazz, dance tunes, vaudeville, comical, you name it. It's in the section there, and it's easier to sort out. We'll work our way back the other direction there. These people are from down around Jeffersonville, Indiana. They tell me this is going to be their last show. They're in their middle 80s, and they have been to about every show I've ever been to. I've been down to Florida, and they're down there also. And Fitzpatrick's, and Fred's lost his eyesight practically, so she does the driving, and it looks like this could very well be their swan song on this show. So that's what they got there. This display is just pictures for display that has been taken over the years, for probably the last 20 years of Phonovention. Pictures of participants and at the different hotels that we used to go at, Owasso and Lansing and Clare, and the Dodge House in Lansing, and it's quite a display. A couple times yesterday, there must have been 10 people around. You had to bump somebody to get next to the picture you wanted to see. And then in the background is another display. Got some wooden horns here, and metal horns, nickel-plated horns. Those, I think, all belong to Larry Crandall. I haven't seen Larry this morning. He might be sleeping in. It was sort of a late night for some of them. So at least we got a picture of his display before the crowd gets here. This display belongs to Ron Herring. He's up on the other side of Chicago in Illinois. He sets up just about all the shows. He's distributor for the Nipper products, little Nipper dogs here, and plaques and record holders and everything. He's got the license to sell these from RCA. There's an old Cobb organ, a nice oak machine. And it's a music box there, and some books, and Ambrola 30, and there's a Wicker 78 RPM machine. And then down below are shirts. Everybody's got to have a T-shirt with a logo of some kind on it. One that don't say racing or something like that. So they're discs for music. There's a little Ambrola Victor 4. And right over here is a traveling phonograph, and then there's some cylinders in them boxes, and then some horns sitting on the floor. Everything's for sale, and a lot of dedication in this collection, because drive 200 miles and set it up one day and display it the next, and then take it down the next day and pack it all up and go home. You got to be dedicated to do something like that. So, this is one of my displays that I put together. This little tray with Edison memorabilia in there. There's a 33 1/3 picture record of Thomas Edison, and then a couple magnets, refrigeration magnets that you can buy at the museum. There's a commemorative coin that they came out with a couple of years ago, and here's a 45 record for the sesquicentennial, and then down here's a plate, and then a book on Edison, and then here's a bust of Edison. This came out of a bank, and sitting there. And then this was on display in a couple places, but this I own now. I bought it off another guy, but this is the tablet. Talks about the residents in Fort Wayne of America's great inventor during 1864. In 1864, Edison was working for Western Electric, and he was a teletype artist here in Fort Wayne. He lived lived over there on what we call the Landing now, but it was Columbia. He lived on one end of it, the west end, and that's the same house that baking soda was invented in, but not when he was here. And then he moved over on the Clinton Street end of it, and then he left there and went to Indianapolis. But that was in 1864, and I don't think he was much more than 16, 17 years old then. This booth here is Robin and Joan Roth, and they're out of Wisconsin. They're both retired school teachers, and they've wrote about 3 books now on nipper and talking dolls and paraphernalia to that degree. They are also very active in the Wisconsin chapter of MAPS. This display is George Velna. George is from up around the Battle Creek area. He's basically into selling parts, repair pieces, and small pieces. And he does repair work. And so he's got a display, nice display, of all his memorabilia. There's Deb looking to see where George is at. But, looks like a Victor that needs a horn and a back bracket. No, that's a front mount. Yeah. A lot of reproducers up there in that display case. There's another display case, I think, over here, yeah, right there next to the column. It's got small stuff, Victor keys, Columbia keys. Records. I think everybody's got records here today. Well, let's see. This is a display table. It's got just small stuff on that they've got in for display. I think 5 briefcases full of small stuff. And this display here, these guys are out of the Wisconsin area, and a lot of parts, a lot of small machines here. And if you notice in the background, most everybody's teamed up in 2s or so talking. Here's a real nice diamond disc player with a matching bottom case. And it's oak. This is Paul Schneider owns this. This right here is a Siam Sioux dancing doll that rides on a record. I almost brought one of mine for display, but I didn't, and maybe I should have. I've started in the wrong end, but now that I'm here, I'll shoot this and then go to the other side. That machine right there is a coin op, and I'll get around the other side. Of course, there's a couple guys standing in front of her right now, so maybe it's best we shoot this side first. 2 coin ops right there, and there's a little Victor 1-1. That white machine is a child's phonograph with decals and that on it. And then next to that's a Columbia. And then getting to what we can see there is Rod Pickett from Indianapolis. He's probably got some things on that table. and Paul Bear from St. Louis. Just at hand forget this guy, but I'll find out in a bit. They're all there discussing what's happening right now. Normally it's on. There's a good shot of this oak diamond disc now with the cabinet in the front. And then right down in the bottom, this has that's a volume control there, like a B80. And here's that one that, this is a Columbia machine. It's sort of like what a Phonogram is, but difference in the front. And then there's the front part of that coin op, one coin op. There's both of them right in there. Yeah. Ron sitting there taking life easy. So over here we got more displays. This display here is Stewart type phonographs. These belong to Stu Marsh. And then got another little metal based machine, and then a wooden one. Then on the back side there's a couple more of my machines, and the one in the center belongs to Rod Pickett. And this is a 5-inch mandrel on a Columbia machine with a brown wax cylinder on it, nickel-plated horn. Then that one with the green horn is a Arantino. It's the one that takes a 3-inch center on the turntable. We'll get over and look at that in a minute. Then in the background, this belongs to John Hauger. It's a display that he put together for display for the meeting. Here's getting back to the coin ops. This is gramophone. You put a nickel in or a penny. I don't know which is this one. This is a nickel. And you get one tune. Drawers are for the cylinders. This looks like a old type home sitting on top of it. Probably somebody had it made out of a cabinet. So we'll get a little closer to that act there. Getting closer to John Hauger's display. He's got a very dedicated thing. John goes all out to get this thing down to the gnat's pajamas, and with his machines and all. It's a nice Victor. Then in the background of that, he's got a signet horn, and it's a metal horn, but it's wood grained. It's very ornate, very ornate. And there's the front of that Arantino machine. That the record has got a 3-inch hole in it. There's what the center of the cylinder, the disc, looks like. It's that size. This was a fad back in 1902, 1903. That was the largest of the bunch. But the next size smaller was a 1-inch that United had. And then there was a 9/16 that Harmony had. And then there was a 1/2 inch or 5/8 that Standard had. And then Busy Bee and a few others had sort of a 5/16 with a shoulder on it so the record wouldn't slip. But that's what an Arantino looks like. Well, it's around the court now. We're back in the center of the building. We got our display to the back of us, and then there'll be displays and setups to the left and to the right. And here we are all the way down to where my stuff would be, and swinging around. Don Caffell stuff, and that's these people with this display here won an Emmy with recorded sound a year ago, and they take old cylinders and old records and record them on DVDs. Archiphone is the name of their organization. Archiphone Records. Songs you think were lost forever. And that's Richard Martin and Megan Hennessy. Then we'll swing the thing the other direction and go back this way, and this display down through here is naturally Joan and Robin Ross from Wisconsin, and takes in George Velna's stuff, and back around over to here with the music boxes and other displays, and we're right back to where we were just 3 or 4 minutes ago, where everybody's sitting there talking and waiting for the crowd to get in. Of course, it's still early this morning. So, can I interrupt?
Man on the spot.
I want to interview these two people.
Oh no, we're getting interviewed, honey.
What? That was an Emmy you got.
Well, if you're on TV, it's going to be an Emmy.
Yeah. What would you win?
Grammy.
A Grammy. Okay.
It's on our shirt. Think of the gramophone.
Okay. Okay, I'm got me a cameraman now, so I can get away from the back of the camera around to the front, and I'm talking to 2 of the people that won the Grammys with Lost Sound. Is that the name of it?
That's right. Lost Sounds, Blacks and the Birth of the Recording Industry, 1891 to 1922.
Okay. And you're Megan Hennessy and Richard Martin.
Richard Martin and Megan Hennessy, owners, operators of Archeophone Records out of Champaign, Illinois.
Okay. Yeah, Champaign, I've worked out of that local a few times. It's in the central part of
Illinois, yeah, about 2.5 hours south of Chicago.
Yeah, it's a good place. You've got quite a few CDs, or not CDs, DVDs.
No, they're CDs.
These CDs? Okay.
This is the one you were talking about that we won the Grammy for, Best Historical Album 2 years ago. It's pioneering black artists in the earliest days of the industry who helped shape recorded sound for all time. And their story, until this CD and the accompanying book by author Tim Brooks, was a lost story.
Yeah.
Things that haven't been heard in 100 years that we were able to find and rescue and put out in a scholarly package to rescue those stories.
Okay, well, I know that everybody's talked about it. We've read it in all the papers. And what else have you got here?
Well, here's one that's going to be interesting to some of the people who come to the museum here for the war exhibits. Is our 2 CD set. Again, scholarly booklet with lots of color and beautiful graphics about World War I and the music that came out of that, called The Great War and American Musical Fantasy. So.
Okay. All right, well, nice to know all this stuff. We got it on record now. We can turn the thing on and play it.
That's right. That's right. And Megan will tell you about our newest one that is coming out in 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, last night at the program you brought this up.
This is Debate 08, Taft and Bryan campaign on the Edison phonograph, and it's all 22 cylinders recorded by Edison. I'm sorry. Can I start over, Tim?
Yeah, yes,
Thank you.
recorded.
This is Debate 08, Taft and Bryan campaign on the Edison phonograph, and it's all 22 of the cylinders that Taft and Bryan recorded during the 1908 presidential campaign. This is a mock-up of the cover. It's at the plant, and we'll have it in hand in 2 weeks.
Okay. Yeah, last night you was talking about Taft won that election, didn't he?
Taft did win that election. He made 2 more cylinders, so he's got the last word on the CD.
Yeah. Well, that's the way them Republicans are. They get the last word somehow. Well, I thank you for taking time to leave us record this.
Well, thank you very much,
Paul.
and it's been a delight being out here at the Auburn Museum, and cheers to everyone here in the Fort Wayne area.
Thank you.
You bet.
And to all the people who own them.
Okay.
Get words on that.
All right.
Okay, we're back. We're over to the Roth's display. And like I said earlier when I took a picture of their display, they are authors of 3 or 4 books now. And they're professional, well, what I want to say, the words left me just a minute ago. They are experts on the field of talking dowels and nipper. So, Robin, how did you get involved in this?
Well, it's a strange combination, but I have my lovely wife to thank for a lot of it. I got interested in the phonograph hobby because of a machine that was in Jones' family's possession that I ended up repairing and fixing, and we acquired that machine, and then I had to have another one, and pretty soon I found out there are machines that play cylinders as well as discs, and then you got the 2-minute cylinders and 4-minute cylinders, and one thing leads to another, and pretty soon you start to have a collection.
I can understand that. I went through about the same thing. Once you get pricked by that needle, there's no elimination from it. You've got it, and it's forever. Joan, how did you get involved?
Well, I had a phonograph in my room, my bedroom, since I was 2 years old. And every time I opened up the lid, I saw this little dog looking into a phonograph. And of course, I went on to college, and finally my parents said, "Do you want that old thing?" And I said, "Well, of course we do." And my wonderful technological husband repaired it, and the rest is history because we love dolls, toys, and nippers. And it's a great deal due to the fellowship of fellow collectors, quite like you, Mr. Paul Ladd, who inspired us to enjoy the hobby, share, and preserve things for the future.
When I look back of all the people we got in this organization in here today with their displays, we all come from a lot of different ways of life. I was a mechanic and a construction worker, and as I take it, you guys were both school teachers.
That's correct, yes. I taught technology education, 4-year high school program. I taught electronics. And of course, I've been interested in recorded sound and in amplification and the electronic reproduction of sound. And when I got the phonograph bug, then I realized there's a whole new world that for years and years people have been listening to music without electronic amplification, and I got fascinated with the technology and the progression of technology from the earliest Edison tinfoil machine to some of the later acoustic machines that employed all mechanical reproduction of music with no electricity. It's just a fascinating development, and you not only have the technology of the machines, but also the music and the history of life the way it was. It's like opening up a time capsule.
Yeah, I can go along with that. Then after, I know we've been around for 20 years, getting together and everything, or a couple. You guys got to writing books. It's one of the things I'm going to bring up in my talk tonight. When we first started this 25 years ago, or 35 years ago, 32 to be exact, there was only one book on phonographs, and that was down at the library, From Tinfoil to Stereo. Now there must be 50 different books out there.
There are, indeed. And I think it's because of the fact that we got together with people like you and you said share your knowledge. And that's exactly what everybody is doing, is sharing their knowledge, and hopefully it'll be there for the future generations as well.
Yeah, I see that coming because people don't read books anymore like we used to. When we were kids, we didn't have TV or anything. You went home, you listened to Jack Armstrong, the All-American Boy, and Lone Ranger and that, and you had a picture in your mind of what these people are doing. Kids today don't have that opportunity. If they don't see it on a screen, they have no idea what it is.
Right. But I think books are still a means of preserving the history, and of course we're doing these recordings today, which is another media.
Yeah, I did a talk at church once in the research I've done. I have a book that says the church retained all the stuff from day one,
Right.
and as it went through centuries and centuries and centuries, it was the church that really kept the books and everything, because schools didn't really come to be until around the 17th century or something like that, and schools today are altogether different, but the books and that was taught was come through the church, and I think that this is something that we're into right now when it comes to recording stuff for future generations and everything to know what's going on.
Correct.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Paul. But writing a book does force you to look at things in depth. And I mean, when you're going to put it in print, you want to double check your facts and make sure things are correct. And it's just a way of putting down on paper for other people to observe and look at and bring out additional information that wasn't available at the time. So it's just an evolution of how knowledge keeps building upon itself.
And it's amazing how cooperative people are in sharing their collections. Pictures can tell, it's worth 1,000 words, as they say. And that's what we do, is we have lots of pictures in our books from collectors, major collectors, and collectors that just start in the hobby, because every collector has something novel in their collection. And that's so important. And
sure, no matter how big or small, you
right,
always
there's
discover
something unique.
Yeah, there's only two kind of people in this world as I've found it. That's people that collect things and people that don't. We're in a university here where everybody here collects something.
That's for sure. And I bet those that don't wish they could.
Okay, thank you, and I'll keep on my way. So I'll be talking to other dealers and collectors around here this morning, and we'll get this thing together.
Keep up the preservation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we've changed positions now, and we're over here with Don Gaffel out of Milan, Ohio. Don and Bobby Gaffel.
Hi, Paul. We're really pleased to be, at this location and share in the HAPS phonograph group. It's really, really a nice group.
Yeah. Well, anytime you get a group of people like this together, I was just over there talking to the Ross, we've all come from a different avenue in life. They are school teachers. I was a mechanic and a construction worker. There's bus drivers in here. But I find more school teachers than anything in here. You was a teacher and also a superintendent, weren't you?
Yeah. My profession, of course, is education, and grew up in Milan, Ohio, the birthplace of Thomas Edison. And Thomas Edison became my hero and hobby as a youngster and has been that all my life. So that's basically how I got into the collecting of not just phonographs. I collect anything with Edison's name on it.
Yeah, I didn't know this till 3 days ago, but right behind us here, they built a new building. I don't know if you've seen it, you've circled the building, but it's the early Ford Museum. It's all white back there. In that building is a 1-ton truck that used to belong to Tom Edison.
Wow. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me, and I'm anxious to go back there and see that. I haven't been in that one room yet in the museum, but of course Edison and Ford were, the best of friends, and Ford got his start working with Edison as a young man, about 18 years old, and Edison encouraged Ford with the automobile, and they became kind of, just lifelong friends.
Yeah, they used to camp together, them, Edison and Ford and Firestone, and I think there was a couple other big wheels at that time, weren't they?
Oh, yeah, they always had, like Burroughs, went along, and, but mainly, Edison, Ford, and Firestone, and, now and then one of the presidents would be, tag along with them and stuff, but yeah, they had quite a group.
They had an old Lincoln, I've seen pictures of that. Ford made a camper out of it for him. History has it that Edison couldn't stand the smell of cooking food, so everything was cooked away from him. Even in his house in Florida there, Fort Myers, the kitchen and everything was separate from the house he lived in.
Yeah, right, yeah, they had, like it wasn't really roughing it, so much. They had all the stuff along with them. And on the camping stories, I think one of my favorite stories is that, this was probably somewhere in Vermont or somewhere like that, and they had to stop at a little gas station to get gas. And Ford, of course, was the youngster of the group, and so he got out, and the guy filled up the gas tank and stuff, and of course this is one of the times when the naturalist John Burroughs was with him, and if you remember Burroughs, with his long beard and everything like that, and he told the attendant at the station, he says, hey, do you know who that person is sitting in the seat there next to me? And the guy said, no, not really. He says, well, that's Thomas Edison. He said, sure, and he says, I suppose the guy in the back seat is Santa Claus.
Well, I can believe that happened.
Yeah.
Edison was quite a character. If you read these books, I got a book here I want to show you here in a little bit when we get off this thing here. It's that one that was wrote on him before before the turn of the century. So Edison was a young man yet, and there's a lot of things in this book that I read contradicts what's in books later on that Miller and Holmes have read.
Yeah. There's of course there's so many stories about Edison, and being the worldwide figure that he was. He really became famous worldwide, particularly with the invention of the phonograph, and he was only 31 years old. And I like the stories told too, that because of his fame throughout the world, he was probably the only person in the world that could receive mail from anywhere on the face of the earth if they just wrote Edison on it. Didn't need an address or anything. So I think that's kind of neat.
I can believe that. He was well known. Bobby, you don't talk much.
No, I don't talk much. I agree with everything you're saying.
What did you do before your husband retired?
Oh.
I mean, what I'm saying, do you have an occupation, or was you just a housewife?
Keep up with him. Let's put it that way.
She was a mom. Yeah.
Just a house mother.
Yeah,
Right.
and put up with the stuff.
Oh. Well, that takes a little bit of doing. You should wear a badge. You're a super mom.
Yeah. No, she really is. Yeah. No, she's been more involved, with the hobby than she claims to, because, she's collecting a lot of things too over the years, and of course helps
I buy for you.
so much, with the hobby, and especially, with the horn hobby, especially.
That's what I was going to get at next. These horns are, I don't know what words to use, painstakingly accurate wooden horns, and you put them together yourself by hand.
Right, yeah, these are, we call them, not to confuse them with reproductions or, where there's a lot of quantities of things made. They're actually one of a kind, basically. They're all custom made, by us. Nobody else is involved with them. The son-in-law and the son has, worked to help develop, certain things that we do. But I started collecting, probably about 40 years ago almost now, and I collected for about 15 years. And I remember I had nearly 75 machines, and I had never seen a wood horn, Paul. Yeah, and I figured at that time, the only way I was ever going to have a wood horn was to make one. So that, a lot of times people say, how do you ever get started? That's how I got started, just, in making, the first ones. And then, I made basically two-dimensional horns for a long time. And then after I retired, I went crazy. I sunk a lot of money, you know, into developing like the three-dimensional horn. Yeah. And of course, those are the music masters and the ones that, you know, are, you know, three-dimensional. And so we just, you know, developed everything from scratch. You know, we have no idea how they did the things originally. We've done a lot of research to try to find out. Can never find anything. So
yeah, most of those books are gone because about everybody here has taught themselves how to repair these machines too, because there's very few books on how to fix them. And but I know the wood part. The average person cannot take a piece of veneer or something like that and make what you have made out here. These are painstakingly. What words I want to use there? They're just painstakingly beautiful, and they just say, hey, look at this. This hasn't got made in Japan or made in China on it. Yeah. These were made by an American, and they're quality.
Yeah, yeah. There's no question about it. I mean, I was driven, you know, and challenged, you know, to keep developing, you know, these wood horns. So I mean, it's been a passion, no question about it, and I just love working with wood, and I can't wait because every one of them has, you know, takes on a little different, you know, look or personality, and the grain in the wood, and you know, so we basically we start with a tree, you know, for almost all of the wood that we use. We're basically using a 3-foot diameter tree, which has to be in order to get the quality of wood that we use in these horns. And a lot of people don't understand, you know, when this stuff was made 100 years ago and so forth, that's the only size trees that were used. Would just not be right to cut down a tree that just was 18 or 2-foot diameter. And of course, that's mainly all that's done, you know, today. So we have to get an old tree, and then we have an old timer, you know, that will quarter saw the wood for us and stuff just like we like. And so it's all starts, you know, basically like from there.
Makes me tired just thinking about it. Well, I appreciate you taking time and explaining this for people who's watching my show, and it's been very interesting, and I hope you have a good day today. I know about 3 o'clock we'll have to start loading all this up and going home because we're going to get together for supper tonight.
Yeah, but we hope we can be back here next year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got away from Don and Bobby and got over here. We've got two of the most interesting people in our club. They're the editors of our newspaper, and Phil and Eileen Stewart. What's going on today with you, Phil?
Well, I'm just enjoying the show.
And I'm spending a lot of money.
Yeah, I've already spent it, so I'm just enjoying now.
Well, I spent a lot before I got here, and we got the rest of the day. It's not even noon yet, and we got the rest of the day to go. Is your money going to hold out?
I hope so.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to save hot dog money now.
Okay, yeah, they're setting that up over there also. So, how is it? How is the editing of the paper? How does this go along? How does it work? And what problems you might have, or what's interesting in what you're doing?
Well, we do spend a lot of time on it, but what is the most important thing are people sending us stories. And if they don't send stories, like I say, I don't make this stuff up, but if I don't get any stories, I have to. Well,
sometimes they get caught at that once in a while in the news. I know, but there's so much interesting stuff in this that, yeah, I don't know if you backlog anything in case you don't have a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, we have Talking Machine World. We have Voice of the Victor going back to 1908. There's always public domain material that we can draw on if we have a need of a page or two. But So far, every month we've had articles from members, and that's really what keeps it going.
Anthony Sinclair in Australia, he was going to be here for this weekend, but they all of a sudden start working on his house, so he had to be there. I don't know, he must be putting one big addition on there, but he writes some real impressive articles.
Yeah, he's apparently got, I don't know if it's the biggest, but one of the biggest collections in Australia. And he writes about American machines and English machines, and he takes them apart and puts them back together again and then tells us how he did it.
That deal he just did on that, was it a home or something? That Edison home, a big banner, he went through that. I almost put Band-Aids on my fingers from sanding that. He does a good job, and then, I don't know, there's quite a few pretty interesting people writing in the paper.
Yeah, we have Steve Ram, we have Ron Deathlison, who's a author, and we're really quite proud to have him on the roster. We have Tom Rhodes. We have many people who send us articles every couple of months.
Right, and they're timely, oftentimes.
Yeah, Steve Ram, he's always got something interesting. I wish I could buy all the stuff that he says is for sale.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's an interesting newspaper. Look forward to it. If I don't have it by the third day of the month, I wonder if the mailman's delivered it to somebody else's house and not mine. And this happens once in a while.
Yeah, that was a problem we had. We put the address page upside down as far as the post office was concerned, and all over the country, half the people didn't get it. And it took us over a month to get that straightened out.
Well, that's the publishing business.
Yeah.
So, well, I tell you, I appreciate you taking the time to explain this to us, and it's pretty nice Phonovention so far, and I think we get...
Wonderful. So many vendors, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
So much to see.
You've got world-class vendors from, you usually only see at Union. You've got a tremendous venue. It's really a great Phonovention.
If that Union show ever falls apart, this would be a natural for having something similar to that.
I agree.
Yeah. You've got the room, and it's centrally located.
Yeah, right off the highway. Well, I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Thanks for
stopping there.
by.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we moved to camera one more time. We're over here with a couple vendors that are in more parts, and one of them's in more machines. Larry Crandall, you're in machines and not too much in parts.
Correct. Yep. I like the machines.
You're out of northern Michigan.
Flushing, Michigan, which is kind of central lower Michigan.
So, then George, you're up around Grand Rapids.
I'm up north of Grand Rapids, yep, Newego area. I have another building I just bought up around the Bitely area as an extended warehouse now. I'm mainly just parts and repair. I don't do much with machines.
Yeah, I noticed that when we go to an auction, you make the big buys at the end of the sale when we go in the back room and there's parts stacked to the ceiling and nobody wants to bid on any of that stuff.
Bottom feeder, yep, exactly.
Well, I tell you, there's money in it because...
you were there for a lot of years, Paul.
Yeah, I repaired them for 35 years, and one of the things I know that when you buy a machine that you know that it's never going to be fixed up again, you take it apart and all the pieces, you put the screws here, the cranks here, the stuff like that, and they accumulate, and pretty soon, well, me after 35 years, I had one sale, and I could not believe how much I had accumulated.
Yep, I've accumulated. I got 2,400 square feet at my main shop. Now I just bought another building that's 3,200 square feet. I'm in the process of filling that up, so.
Well, I've done that. We had an auction here 3 years ago, and my garage was clean, and everybody thought we're going to put a car in there, but it's full of stuff again.
Don't take long.
So, Larry, you're in machines mostly, and
Yeah, I find, well, I enjoy the machines. I'm not much into records. And as we get older, you know, when you got all these parts like George, you have to remember what you have. It gets harder, where I can remember if I have a Victor E or an Edison Standard, so it's a little bit easier. Plus, I do enjoy the machines most, so that's what I deal in.
How many Edison standards or Edison homes do you have?
Caught me off guard there. You're talking in my inventory or in my collection? I don't know either one right off.
I think everybody that got into this collection, once we got started on cylinder machines, I think every time an Edison standard or home come up, we had to buy it before the sun went down or something drastic was going to happen to us.
Yeah, there was a core group that you were always butting heads. It's before the machines went up for auction. You're standing around talking just like this. Yeah. But as that machine come up, then everybody kind of goes off to their own little corner, their own little pole. They're butting heads, and as soon as the winner's announced, and they're all back together. Oh, great job, good machine, you know. That's certainly the way it was.
Yeah, it still is today. And I go down to my basement and I look, because I've had to put shelves in 2 or 3 times just to house these things. And there they sit, not doing anything. I've seen them go up. I've seen them go down. I think right now they're down. About 4 or 5 years ago, an Edison standard or an Edison home would bring $500-600. Now I doubt if you get 3.5 out of one.
Yeah, I doubt it.
I think, yeah, they're pretty common. And of course, the key word here, eBay, has definitely put a hole in the more common stuff like the standards.
Yeah.
But then you got the rare stuff. It's driven the price right up on them.
Yeah, the rare stuff is getting higher and higher. I find on Edison Standard or Edison Home, and this comes from my junker days, rather than try to sell it in one piece for $400, if you tear it apart and do like George is doing, you can sell the whole thing for $600 if you just split it up.
Some of its parts are worth more than the unit as a whole, yep.
I just repaired a machine. I don't do much repair anymore, but I just repaired a machine for a guy, and somebody had taken it apart, and the little screws and the little bearings you don't find weren't there. And I had to use a shaft and a mandrel shaft and everything that come in a box as an adapter. I had to use the screws out of that. There's $100 worth of nothing. It's worthless today because the screws are all gone. But his machine runs.
Yeah, you restored another one.
Yeah, we're gonna slow down on that now. When you get, I don't know, if you get older, I'm 76 now, and it's time to sit back and do like you do. You can see your machines on the shelf and don't worry about what's in the drawers. Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time to explain this to us, and we'll have a little talk on this later. I don't know if you guys are going to hit the round table tonight after the meeting or not, but everybody's
not going anywhere.
Okay, so thank you.
Paul. Thanks, Paul.
Okay, we moved again, and we're over here talking to Ron Herring. Herring, you're out of northern Illinois somewhere, aren't you?
Yes, Plano, Illinois, about 70 miles west of Chicago.
Is that up around Rockford, up in that area?
South of there, about an hour or so.
Okay. You're basically into machines and parts, right?
Anything wind-up phonograph.
Okay. I know that when you set up at Union and some of the other places, or when we go to auctions, you're in the mix with everybody.
Yeah, I do my share.
Some of the guys only buy machines, somebody only buys parts, some only buys cylinder, but no matter what's going on, you're in right in the middle of it.
I buy a little bit of everything, yep.
You're down here by yourself. Usually your family's with you.
Sometimes they don't always make it to the Phonovention, but they always come to the Union Phonograph Show when I do that.
Well, it's been pretty decent around here. Yesterday we was setting up and got everybody around here. I don't know where the crowd left us a little bit ago and where they're at now, but we got the banquet tonight.